Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming on this event for International Women Conference Day. Today we are going to be discussing a lot of inspiring stories of Pakistani women in computing. And today I will start this session by actually introducing the three amazing speakers that we have on the panel today. First of all, my name is Ifra Idris. I am a PhD student at Brown and I will be moderating this session. So let's introduce the first amazing speaker. She is, so we have Sadia Khilji. Sadia right now is, sorry, Sadia right now is the head of employee technology in Mass Mutual. She's also a treasurer at PWIC and the New England chapter lead. Our second amazing speaker is Aisha Bashir. Aisha is a principal group engineering manager at Microsoft. She is president at PWIC and a charter member at Open Seattle. And our third amazing speaker is, let me show you and introduce her. She is Amber Ambasi. She is an IT project manager at Bell Canada, and she's passionate about cloud computing and advocate for Pakistani women in computing. So here are our three amazing panelists. Thank you, all of you, for coming today. I think a lot of Pakistani females are going to feel empowered after the discussion we are going to have today. So let's start with a few questions that I had curated so that you can answer them and we can have your perspective on them. The सबसे पहला question is that certain point in life, all of you, everyone in general, they receive a negative feedback. So in those situations, how do you actually make the best out of it? And how can the audience use this negative feedback to still keep themselves motivated? So सबसे पहले, I would like Amber, do you have any thoughts on this question?
Sure. So, like I grew up in Canada, going to a school where there's nobody Muslim. Wearing a scarf wasn't an easy task. So you hear a lot of feedback and being told certain things, and you have to keep in your heart why you do certain things. And as I grew, I kept myself very positive and going, you know what, I know the reason why I do what I do, and keep that in mind. And later on in life, like I initially studied tourism, got married, everything got put on hold. I'm sure most of you can understand that when you get married, all of a sudden feels like everything is on hold. Okay, there you go, you're a wife. But you know what? I went back to school. I decided I'm going to go back to school and actually get my degree. I never got my degree before marriage. I got married very early, so it was very hard because even though I had the support from my immediate family, like my parents and my husband and whatnot, but anybody outside, why are you doing it? It's a waste of money and this and I knew that I had the support I needed, and I had a goal, I had a vision in mind, and that's what kept me motivated. I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do. I know where I want to go, where I want to get to. So that's what kept me going, and that's what it was for me to just keep pushing myself, because I know a lot of Pakistani girls who just like is after marriage don't want to follow through on what they've done and things like that. So I think that don't do that. Don't hold back. Don't do those things, and just be motivated by your own goal. You know where you want to get to. We're strong people. We're strong women. We can get there.
Thank you so much, Amber. That was really admirable for everyone who's going back to school and would have like faced some sort of backlash. So I think that they will find this like really, really helpful. Um, Sadia, do you think that like you have moved up the ladder in the workplace arena, right? So I think that do you have any advice? Like, what was your experience, and do you think that you faced any like backlash? And what's your advice? Yeah.
So, Ifra, first of all, as you grow in your career, and there are times when you're going to be facing very positive feedback, which is going to lift you up, and there are also going to be times when you will have feedback which will demotivate you. As you grow up the ladder, I think the thing to really keep in mind is what exactly is your goal, and take every feedback with a grain of salt, look at it constructively, and take a look at it from the perspective of what it could do for you. I have been through many such instances in life. A few years ago, when I was still working as a program manager, I got feedback from one of my senior colleagues, a male colleague, from one of the conversations in which he mentioned that I may be asking too many questions when we are working with executives. And at that stage, I took his feedback and I was a little bummed because my questions were coming out of curiosity. But as I started thinking about it and thinking about his perspective, why was he even giving me that feedback? I realized that it was his insecurity that was bringing up this feedback because the questions that I was asking were actually the questions he should have been asking. However, that did not make me feel like really, oh, I shouldn't be asking questions or what do I do, or even make me feel that, oh, he shouldn't be saying this because that was his perspective. And I put that all into perspective. Maybe could ask questions in a way that would make him feel less threatened, but still put my curiosity out there. So, long story short, you will get feedback. There are times when you will not know what to do with it. But as long as you're focused on your goal and you look at it broadly and what you could do from that feedback, I think you'll continue on your journey.
Amazing, Sadia. Thank you so much. I think this is like very helpful advice, especially for the females who are like climbing the ladder in their workplace. So, actually, following up on this, I have a question which is around a topic which is very common theme that females do face: imposter syndrome. And I believe all of us have faced that or experienced that. So, I would just like to hear what have you experienced in your journey and what can be like take away from it. So yeah, so Aisha, do you want to like start off with this question?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think I'd like to explain a little bit imposter syndrome as well, that it's a fact. So, around 64% of women have actually said that they have experienced imposter syndrome. And what it is essentially you feel lack of confidence. You don't feel like sure if somebody comes to you and say, oh, can you do this thing? You're not sure. You're like, maybe I can, even though you know you can, like 80% of the time, but the 20% you're not sure. And that's how most of the females are. It's just our nature, right? Until we are not sure, we won't say yes, I can do this. And on the other spectrum of side, you'll see that there, our male colleagues or our, our brothers or even our husbands, if they're not sure, like 50% of the time, they'll still think, yeah, I can do it. So they'll just say, yeah, I can totally do it. So I think there's a kind of a self-doubt. That's what imposter syndrome is. So begin with that. Yes, I think I have faced it like at so many levels and didn't realize that I was doing it. And what really helped me was just being aware of that it is natural and it happens with everybody, with especially with females. So recognizing that yes, this is common, and then yes, I have it a lot of time, and then basically applying that if somebody is asking you if you're going to take a risk, if you're going to work on a project, if you're even studying for an exam, somebody comes and asks you to step up and take a role. Instead of saying something upfront, just take a break, just breathe it in and say, yes, I can do it. Either, making your Superman pose or just taking time to kind of digest it and say, yeah, I can try, definitely. You can start with that. And then you'll see that how that confidence builds upon it. Another thing that is really important is if somebody gets praised, right? Or my direct response used to be somebody say, you're doing great. I'm like, oh no, this was because I was doing studying with this person, or I was doing blah thing with this person. So I think really important fact to understand there is, if you have done something, say thank you for it, recognize that. It's hard to sometimes recognize your achievements, your success, and just put it on other things, but like it's true, you have put in some effort, so take that credit. So I think starting off with just a thank you, these are some small steps that we can practice, and that will help us in our journey to basically pile upon that and keeping our own biases aside and make great progress.
Thank you, Aisha. That was wonderful. Sadia, like I think you would also have like a lot to share. So please go ahead.
I think I would be lying if I say that I do not face imposter syndrome. The first step is acknowledgement, and all of us do face it. KPMG did a study in which they found out that 75% of women executives face imposter syndrome in the workplace. It's the feeling that, okay, do I really deserve this? Do I really belong here? And the first step, as Aisha mentioned, is to really acknowledge, pause for a minute and realize, okay, am I just coming into this circle of imposter syndrome again? What really helps me as well is whenever I get that feeling, I really pause and I look around. When you look around and you observe, you realize that others are not perfect too. They're not. Nobody's perfect here. They have their own journey. You have your own journey. And maybe your journey is not at the same level as theirs, but you are there. You have a seat at the table because there's something that you bring to that table. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. So, pausing a little, acknowledging it, and then trying to understand, what am I really bringing to this table? And observing others who are not even perfect, it makes a huge difference. Another thing that I would really add here, try to find people who are extremely encouraging and who help you see the way they see you. That will make a huge difference if you surround yourself by people who can see what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Aisha, I think you
Yeah,
also have some thoughts.
I actually wanted to share a couple of, personalized thoughts here. So I think it's very common when we look somebody and we're like, they have the perfect life. This person is the CEO or, exec on this big company and they have figured it out all. What really helped me was meeting people who are at that level and realizing everybody's human, right? When I got into Microsoft, I remember I called my father after the interviews and I told him I'm not gonna get in. I screwed up my interviews. That was my statement, and he said, bete, make dua and Allah Taala will do the best for us. And then when I got in, I was like, how did I get in? I screwed up my interviews. And then even after when I joined, every month, me and my husband both were in Microsoft. So we every month I'll be like, they'll fire me. I know nothing, right? And
You know,
even after getting my first promotion, I was like, I'm not good enough. After this, I don't think I can be ever, a senior because I just don't know anything. So what really helped me out of these things was actually talking to people or mentors or, people who are higher up there and kind of finding the same insecurities in them as well, that everybody has doubt. It's natural. So how do you basically surpass that fear and then just look about what you can do best and put your efforts in there instead of basically just always doubting you, because that's natural, that's common. So you have to look past that and see what else you can do to have an impact. Yeah.
that's for sure, Aisha. Like, there are so many things both of you have said that are so similar to my uh, own experience of imposter syndrome. Like, things of, feeling self doubt. Like, you hear these negative. Like, I remember when I went back to school, all I heard was negative feedback. So when I graduated, even though I graduated cum laude, I was still doubtful that, am I going to get a job? Will I get a job? I don't think I will. But I had to stay motivated and go, no, I got this far. I know I could do it. And when I did my interview, I had the exact same. I screwed it up. I screwed it up. I screwed it up. And I'm like, no, no, no. Okay, you got to think back. Let's go back and just back to Sadia's point. Surround yourself with people who would like see you the different way. So my family and my friends who saw me, they're like, no, no, no. Trust me, you'll get it. You'll get the call. And I did. And sometimes they're like, oh, okay, will I go senior? I have that same feeling. Will I ever get to senior? I don't know. Maybe you won't. But that 20% of that self doubt or those negative feedback that you hear comes back to haunt you in a way that you're like, oh, maybe I can't. But those motivation and those people that are there to help and push you, those are the ones that are going to help you get through that imposter syndrome. I feel that's how I've gotten over it, to go, okay, no, I can do this. I'm worth it. I can get there. And that's how I'm moving forward.
No, that's amazing. Like, as a student, I've also faced like imposter syndrome a lot, and I relate to both all of you that one of the things is that I compare myself to other people's journey, and like what Sadia said, that everyone's journey is unique. We need to embrace that, and I think after like listening to all of you, I think I'll be able to like better handle imposter syndrome now as well. So yeah, Thank you, all. There's one thing that I really want your opinion in it. So a lot of females, whether they are working, whether they are even students, they are actively seeking mentors or advocates which can help them grow. So I would like to know from your journey and your experience, what advice you have for such females, that can help them in their journey to finding mentors and advocates. Anyone can start off, but Sadia, maybe do you have any thoughts on this?
I think this is a broader issue. A lot of women do not seek mentors. They do not go out and ask for active mentorship, because probably because of the fear of not getting mentored. And that is something that we need to actually avoid. One of the things that I did in my early in my career, I started looking out and observing leaders, and if there was a leader who really inspired me, I went to them and I said, would you please like to mentor me? And of course, sometimes the mentorship worked, sometimes it didn't, but at least I know that I tried. To this day, when I am in my career right now, I look around and I see women who are top talent, and I'm very surprised because many of them do not reach out and ask for active mentorship. So, one of the things that I've started to do now for women is reach out to them and say, I really see the talent in you. I would like to mentor you and I would like to help you with a few situations as you grow in your career. So at this stage, I think it's really important, seek mentors yourself. It's okay if it doesn't work out, but at least you tried. And if you're in a position to mentor people, just don't be focused on yourself and your growth. Take the time out to mentor others as well.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that is essentially what is mentorship and why are you going for, like, I think as you basically come from a student life and being a Pakistani, we are very upfront about just asking question. Like we don't want to figure it out first and just want to go ahead and ask somebody. So I think I would like to kind of separate those things, two things out. Like what is mentorship? Is it just like you guide me, or what do we even ask a mentor, right? Um, is to, as Sadia initially said, it's really interesting to understand mentors are people who are at least two level higher up than you in your career journey, either in your same field or different company, same company, but somewhat related, who can guide you how you can grow in your career. And they can be sponsors as well. They can be people in your same organization, or people who are in different organization but directly work with you. But essentially the goal of having that relationship of mentorship or sponsorship is to understand and having one a bigger picture. Like when you're talking to somebody who's senior than you in your workplace, or even in student life, right? We used to do that day to day. When we were in college, we would go to seniors and ask, like, how was this exam, how's this teacher, and whatnot. It's the same concept. But at workplace, it's more like, okay, what does the business want? What does life look like at your level? How can I make a better impact than what I'm making today? Right? You're not gonna go and ask about, oh, I'm stuck with my manager on this, what do I do? But I think there's some things that you cannot directly ask your manager or your peers, and having somebody senior you can go and ask for, like, I'm really struggling in this, what would be the right way for me to get out of this loop? I think those are important things that you need people to rely on, and kind of expand your network as well. And I think that's really important as females as well, that we help other female learn and grow, and as well as like all of our male allies as well. So I think, as Sadia said, I think what I used to do when I was like even a really junior in Microsoft, when I joined, I basically made these connections in different part of the organization, and I would just go and ask them like how they're handling different channels, and how, where am I at, and how can I do better. And I think that just gives you a bigger lens, apart from the bug that you're fixing, or apart from the two lines of code that you're doing, to kind of figure out what's going on in the world. And that's really important for you to know, oh, I'm probably not even thinking why my manager is giving me this thing. So I think that's really an ongoing journey, and it never ends, right? As you go up, you learn more, and knowledge is a bliss, and it's like it keeps on growing as well. So I think that's where human interaction and that relationship is really important. Because if you invest in a child, we usually tutor our brothers and sister or kids and whatnot, then you're really invested in their success. So it's the same relationship as a mentor. If somebody I'm spending time with, I'm really invested in their success. So it's a both way success for both of them, and I think that's why it's super duper important.
I think these guys summed it up really well that there isn't much left to say. Let's go. Let's move forward.
Thank you, the three of you. And I totally like agree with this. Like seeking mentors and advocates is hard, but the first step is to like take that leap of faith and ask people that, okay, I need help, can you help me with that? So yeah, completely and totally agreed. So I'm also looking at the chat. There is one question that I wanted to ask you, and there are people who are also interested in the same question, which is about work life balance. How do you guys do? You're amazing, like superwoman. You are managing your children, you are managing your work. So how is it going for all of you? Aisha, do you want to like start us
Yeah,
off?
absolutely. So I think I would like to say that nobody have figured it out yet. Um, just to be very honest and
Totally
upfront,
agree.
right? Nobody has figured it out. So if you think we have aced it, we have not. It's always a struggle, but I think there are things that can help you. The first principle that I think has helped me is a Dale Carnegie principle, which says compartmentalize, right? So if you are essentially, if you have, this is my priority, I have to, make food. How can I basically do a lot of masalas, put it in my freezer, and do a lot of cooking on weekends. So that's part of my how I can make my routine, handle one thing at a time, right? So I have a week schedule that works with me. Okay, cooking only on some hours on the weekend, otherwise either orders from somewhere else or do something else. 2 days are for my homework for my kid, where I have to drop her for Quran class or whatnot, and then spend maybe half an hour for 4 days, but not more than that. If somebody asks me to work homework more than that, no, I'm not going to work it on, right? And then defining roles within the household, uh, you know, who gets to do what, that also helps. So basically, making a routine and then having some sort of structure definitely helps. And then when you are about to get overwhelmed with the whole thing that's going on, then basically, taking a break and breathing, and then slowing it down, that's totally fine. I think kind of figuring out what are the top things that you want to do. Sometimes I think we do not jump into another thing thinking, oh, it will take a lot of time, but sometimes it doesn't, right? So for example, um, when I was joining PWIC this year, earlier this year, full time, I thought, I cannot do it. How will I do it? I have like two small kids. So my older one is 6 year old and my younger one is 2 years. And then I'm full time at job, high pressure job as well. And then I'm doing Open as well, which is Open Seattle is also a networking community for Pakistanis in Seattle area. Then how can I do PWIC? So I had to make my decision based on how much time will it take. So I talked to other people in PWIC to kind of make that decision. So I think the work life balance recipe is how much time do you have and how much you spend in each of those categories. And if you're doing that and you're going with it, it's good. And if you're not, it's totally fine to reevaluate your options and step back on something. As long as you're not stepping back on the make sure your health, your family, your kids are at the top. You cannot, that's non-negotiable, at least for me. And when you feel like, oh, I think there's something haywire going here, so I need to step back, right? And make sure the communication is open in whichever forum you're working. If you need to take a gap in your workplace, that's totally fine. I've done that. I was super exhausted with work and I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to take 2 weeks off and I'm gone because I'm not productive. So I think it's normal. So just keeping a tap on yourself. Am I doing okay? Do I have a schedule? This is working for me. This is not working for me. Just being more aware of where you are going, what you're doing, and then kind of doing an iteration on that. Nobody has a perfect recipe of what will work, but I think everybody has their own thing that works for them. Make sure that you basically iterate over that.
I like hands up, like totally agreed with what you've said exactly. Sadia, number, like what are your thoughts on it? Yeah.
I think Aisha covered it pretty much. My 2 cents are going to be, don't expect perfection. Don't kill
Agreed.
yourself over it. There are days when you will totally not get it. There are days will you'll have no idea what's going on because the balance is going to be off. But as Aisha said, just pause and say, okay, let's start another day as with a fresh perspective and tweak it a little bit. I don't think there's a thing like work-life balance maintained consistently. There are going to be times when it's going to be up and down as long as you continuously prioritize.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The thing is, you guys have hit exactly all the major points. So you gotta have your main priorities. What are your non negotiables? For me, I remember when I was in school, it's like, okay, if I have an exam, dirty dishes has to wait. So you have to let go. Stop feeling guilty that you didn't do the dishes. Move past it. Not every day you can do everything. So there are days where you will go, okay, it cannot happen. Move forward, let it go study for whatever it was, or if it's a report you're doing for work, whatever it is, you have your non-negotiable, have those are done. And if you're done those, then anything else can be switched over to something else or can be delayed. There's no perfect recipe for it, just like anybody else. Everybody makes their spaghetti differently, so it's the same way.
And I
I
think I would like to add one more thing. When I'm struggling with something, then again, looking up to a person, a friend, or somebody who has been in the same space, reaching out to them and asking them, "Oh, your kids are the same age. How are you handling with homework?" Right? Asking for that help is really, really crucial. Relying on your friends, on your communities, on your families, it's a good thing because you learn from others experience as well, and you're like, because you are in that situation, you might not be thinking up straight because you're kind of dealing with a lot of things. So I think reaching out to other people to just hear perspective is also important, and then learn from it and go, and then try and work anything on a similar point. It's also very common that if everybody else is doing this one thing, the same pattern, and you're not doing the same way, you feel pressured, or like peer pressure. Oh, I should also work with my kids like every two days. No, sorry, doesn't work for you. That's totally fine. Find your own recipe of what's working for your kids. Especially with the pandemic, I think what I have figured out is, with our busy lives, we keep some pressure on our kids as well, and their circle of life becomes really tough as well, because we're expecting them to be fast enough to eat food quick, to get ready fast, to leave the house fast. Slow down. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to step back and kind of give them space and let them take their time to play and not go anywhere outside, or whatever. Essentially, I think what pandemic has given us is, the priorities that we thought were our priorities are not our priorities. Health and your family and your happiness should be your first priority. And there are ways you can still take time out for that, because the world is not going to stop. Um, right.
Yeah.
As the
Isra,
saying goes, your family are the one who are going to miss you more. Your job will be replaceable. So it's very true, Aisha.
I think if I want to add one thing here, as women tend to grow in their career, especially ambitious women, it's very important to be mentored by someone who's not going to be imposing their values on you. I have
Agreed.
seen a lot of female executives who have taken pride in saying the fact that, oh, I'm going to miss my daughter's class because I don't have time for it. I have to be here just to be assimilated and be seen as successful. And it's very easy to fall into that trap. You don't have to be in that trap. You can deliver the value to an organization by keeping your priorities there and still focusing on the outcomes that you want to achieve. So don't fall into that trap just because somebody's pretending that they don't care. You have to be in the category of not caring.
I totally agree with that, and like more power to the three of you. I have a very small family. I don't have children. Even then, I feel the burn, and like with you guys, you're doing an amazing job. So kudos. There's one question that actually we got from chat, and I think it resonates with a lot of females. So I want to just ask you and see what is your opinion on that. So the question is that women are mostly inclined to say sorry for every little thing, even when it's not their fault. Is that a habit that you have faced in the workplace? And if yes, how have you handled it? So please feel free. Any of you can go first as well. So yeah.
I have definitely. I used to say sorry a lot, and I didn't notice that until one of my professors said, "You've done fine. Why are you apologizing?" And I realized, and then that's when he told me. And I was lucky enough to have a professor to, like Sadi had mentioned before, have great mentors or people around you that can tell you the right feedback. So that's when I got it. And he goes, "No, you got to change your sorry to something else, anything else. Thank you for waiting. Instead of saying, sorry, I'm late, say, thank you for waiting." Now you've just changed that sentence from apologetic to, well, I appreciate you waiting. So changing that tone really helps, and it still keeps your confidence, because when you say sorry, your confidence, at least I felt that my confidence was a bit low. I was feeling bad or guilty when I said it. So like being late was, like just an example. Like when you're late, you feel guilty. Oh my god, oh my god. But at the same time, but if you go in and go, well, thank you for waiting. Let's get this going. There was no, like, it just was a smooth transition. Your confidence still up there, and everybody still has confidence in you because you weren't having that guilt feeling of, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late. Because when you even say it, your aura that you put out there is very low and not confident. So I definitely changed myself, and that was my last year of school. So I felt good that, okay, got it in time. I still do it, but then I right away, okay, track myself, go, okay, I just did it again. I have to. So it's still a learning curve. I'm still learning. It does happen, but I have to, keep myself, okay, no, let's go back, retrack. What can I do? But I'm sure others, Sadia or Aisha, may have some other examples.
I think you summed it up. It's I think there are a few things here. It's sometimes women tend to say sorry when it's not their fault. Other times when they have done something great, they say, "Oh, it's I didn't do much. It was it was a team effort." I think these are two things that I've seen a lot. Regarding sorry, this doesn't mean that you're not vulnerable if you don't say it. But I agree with. What was said, that you have to just say the right words. Maybe you look at from that perspective that, okay, let me think about how I can do this differently next time. Oh, when if not your fault, then you can say, I don't think this is something that I contributed towards, but let me look into that on how it could be done differently. Things that kind of help you look ahead and not bump into, oh my God, I did something wrong.
Yeah, so I think I'd like to actually add one more thing is that doesn't mean that if you do something wrong, don't say sorry, right? It has to be a balance. So
Hmm.
if you are doing it out of habit, just I think that's a good point that a lot of women do say sorry. And then also a lot of women do not take credit for what they are doing. So I think awareness is really important. Like when you feel like, okay, I have never said thank you and you did great, so kind of realizing that and saying thank you is important. Like somebody says, oh, you did a great job. Oh no, I was just working with the team, right? That was my job. Don't say that. Just say yourself, I'm not going to say anything, and say thank you, and then think what else you want to say. So I think that's a really good tip that I got a while back and I still use it, which is great. That gives you a pause to think about what is your reaction, and then you can also compliment the team. I think it's really important, the people you work with,
Hmm.
they give them credit. You give credit to your team if they have worked on it. Don't take anybody's credit. And if they've worked with you, definitely say thank you. And I'm really proud to work with this
Hmm.
team who has helped me kind of achieve this, right? And on the other side, if you did screw up, say sorry. Like there is no point in that. But as a habit, don't say it like, sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I didn't reach out too early. I do it very often as well. But I think, as it's said, thinking it from the when you're uh, gonna write it like sorry, think of what are the good ways to what are other good ways to communicating it out. Why I'm being apologetic? If you are actually being apologetic, it's fine to say sorry, but if you're not, then maybe just use some other wording.
Yeah, the technique that Amber said, like converting your tone from like I'm sorry to thank you, that's the technique I started using last year, and I've seen the change. But still, it is still an ingrained habit. Obviously, when I mess up, I need to say sorry, but like saying, converting it to thank you as actually helped me realize what Aisha was saying, that okay, I did a thing, like thank you for that, for complimenting me. But thank you for your time and patience, things like that. So yeah, totally agreed. There's one more question that we got from chat, and I think it's really interesting. So I want to hear your thoughts on it. So the question is this: that women often self-censor due to the fear of humiliation on account of saying the wrong thing. So how do you overcome this fear and ask your questions at the right time?
I can add to this one because I think the example that I shared was because I
Yeah,
was asking a few questions.
yeah,
So I think this is coming from Zeest. There is no, I think you should always go out with the fact that there's no question is stupid. If you're thinking about a question and if you do not understand what's being said, it's totally okay to ask, and ask with confidence, and make sure that you're asking with curiosity. If you are not asking a question and holding it back, what others may think about it, I think that's never going to help you get to where you want to. And one of the things I've also realized, sometimes you may think that, am I the only one who's not understanding this? But when you ask the question, others jump in because they're like, we also do not get this. So if it's not clear to you, what are the odds that it's clear to others? So just putting yourself out there, there's no humiliation. And if somebody is really thinking about questions that way, then I'm sorry, maybe that's not the right culture for you to grow in.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I think there are basically two types of question. So one is essentially when you're like, say if it's a technical discussion or something and you don't understand what's going on and you're like, all these people are so smart and everybody understands it and I just don't get it. It's very common for female and every like a lot of males as well not to ask questions in their room to not sound dumb, right? To handle those situations, I think what has really helped me is kind of saying, oh, you know what, I'm really new to this space, thank you for kind of explaining this, but in layman terms, like I'm just hearing this for the first time, what is going on? Kind of that, just pay the dumb card, that's fine if you don't understand it, because the really important thing as you grow in your career is to understand what's going on. If you do not, you won't be able to ask curious and authentic question. So for you to be really authentic and know the space, you need to get that knowledge base. If you're not understanding that knowledge and not asking, you would never understand. So I think it also depends on what kind of question you're asking, right? If you're trying to understand something that's complex and just not able to understand, coming it from being authentic, saying, I'm new to this space and thank you for taking the time out. How can is this like is my understanding? Maybe just state what the person said in your own way of like, am I understanding it is correct that the customer is coming in and they're not able to do blah, right? Or is the reorg means this is happening? So kind of stating it in your own words of like you are there, you're trying to understand, but you're not able to apprehend, and then other people will jump in as well because they'll be like, oh yeah, I was also confused if this is happening or that is happening, right? That's one way of asking. Other is one common mistake that I did very early in my career. So coming from Pakistan, our very common habit is just go and ask everything, like even before coming in searching on what's going on. Oh yeah, well, how will this happen? And so I used to ask a lot of dumb questions, like very frequently. I had the opposite problem. I would just go to my, peer developer and ask them, oh, why this code is not doing like this? Or, how do I look at the bug like this? And in the beginning, they would help me, but then they were like, why this person is wasting my time, right? And what I understood was a feedback that one of my, colleague gave me, which was still to the date stick with me, is do not come to me for the next 5 minutes, even if you have a question, look for it. And I'll be like, he used to like sit right next to me and I would sometimes just say it out loud. Oh, what will, and then he said, just be quiet and look for those next 5 minutes and you'll find the answer. And it was wonderful that it did. I'm like, before asking him, I would do a little bit research and I'll be like, I'll have my answers. So again, I think the questions that you're going to ask, make sure they're curious. You have done research on them and you don't understand them still. It's totally, I think, okay to ask and still kind of, but if you're going to ask dumb questions like I did, then I think that then you'll have a like negative impact. But I think that was a learning as well, that do your research and then ask a good question, and that always helped. And then I think really important thing, I know we are heading towards the time. Really important thing is being authentic, right? Asking an authentic question is also really, really important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was amazing, ladies. And now, since we have like a few minutes left, I want to ask you a question that is going to be the key takeaway that the audience is going to take, like. So, what advice do you have for the audience? And please feel free. I want all three of yours amazing perspective on it. So please go ahead and like answer. Yeah.
For me, the one thing I think is always stay positive. You know you can do it. We are strong women. We can do anything and everything. Stay focused for what you want, and you will get there. If you need to learn, relearn, go do it. Doesn't hurt. Age is just a number. Don't think that that is stopping you. And that's my advice.
Great. Thank you.
I think one of the things that has really helped me is always push your limits and take more risk. I've realized that women do not take a lot of risk when they're growing in their career. They get comfortable in a space, and I think they do not take risk from the fear of not succeeding, and that's okay. I have taken a lot of risk in my career that have helped me grow to where I am right now. Push your limits, take risks, don't fear that don't think about what if I am not good at it. Just try, put your best out there. And in the process, please do not lose your authenticity. Have seen a lot of people who, as they grow in their career, they make this extra effort to assimilate and to try to be who they are not, and that really shows up in their body language and that shows up in their actions. When you're confident in where you come from, who you are, and you're trying your best, you will be able to inspire others people as well, to be more authentic. So do not lose authenticity in your growth.
Yeah, and advice I would have is stay humble, like no matter what, right? Stay humble. And then I think for me, my faith is really, really close to heart. And I strongly believe in, destiny and how Allah Ta'ala has basically given us a path and we follow that. So make sure that, no matter everybody, some people have success and it's like, Alhamdulillah, it's not something that we are solely responsible for. Like we should be proud of what we have achieved so far and help, other people do the same as well. But there are bigger plans, and if you're a part of that plan, in my opinion, I think make sure that you do your due diligence of helping others as well, regardless of if there's like, do not have an expectation of getting something back, because that's something, when you are going to be authentic, that's what helps you in whatever journey you are. And do not fear from failure. It's very unnatural to say that, because all of us do, fear of failure. But if you come go past that, there are bigger things that were part of the plan, and that helps you. Like I feel like my story is kind of where I was a pre-medical student and terribly failed in my medical exam and whatnot, and thought that was it. But I think now that when I look back, I'm just so thankful I'm not a doctor. So I think that's, for me, the biggest takeaway is, do not live in the point of moment you are in. Like there might be bigger things, there might be better things, and try to focus on the bigger plan and stay humble.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you. Um, so these three amazing panelists, they have said amazing things. Amber, from you today, I learned that even if we get negative feedback, we should stay strong and stay motivated. From
Definitely.
Sadia, today I learned that even when you're up the ladder, you would might face imposter syndrome, but you shouldn't be afraid. You should embrace your journey and stay headstrong. From Aisha, I realized to be humble today. So thank you, all three of you. I wish you all the best, all the success, and best of luck in your current and future endeavors. Thank you for taking out time today. International's Women's Day was on 8th March, and today we are talking about all the amazing journeys that you have been through. And I can tell you, I feel inspired by all the things that you've said today, and a lot of females who are going to watch this session, they're going to feel inspired as well. So thank you all. So this session was specially brought to you by Pakistani Women in Computing. They have done an amazing job and had a lot of events throughout the conference, this 2-day event conference. So please feel free to go back and watch the rest of your sessions as well. So on this note, I bid you goodbye. Have a great rest of your Sunday, no matter where in the world you are. So thank you. Thank you all. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Shukra. Bye
Bye.
bye.